as of the most recent Valorant patch, there's been a lot of changes in the meta, shaking up exactly what agents are best to solo carry on. So in this video, we're going to go over 2 solo carry agents from every single role, so you know exactly how to start climbing immediately. But you're actually not alone in your climb. In fact, we've helped thousands of players just like you climb the ranks faster than you could even imagine. We've even recently created a brand new course showcasing the exact advice given to players just like you to help them climb stupid fast. You'll take a look at one-on-one coaching sessions and how our coaches simplify the game into easy to follow steps that will instantly skyrocket you in rank. The incredible thing is, you don't just have to take our word for it, because we actually just guarantee you'll climb or your money back. We've tested our product enough to know it works, and if it doesn't work, you shouldn't pay. So if you're someone who's looking to climb out of elo hell, or maybe you just don't even believe it's really possible, consider us a shot. You won't be disappointed. Now, the first role that we got to talk about is definitely controller, a role that is severely underpicked compared to how strong it is at dominating, especially if you're a solo carry person. Locking in those games by yourself, you need to go above and beyond in order to carry, and these are the perfect 2 agents to do it. Number 1 is undoubtedly Viper, and not only is she just an amazing solo carry agent, but she is just necessary, period. If you want to climb consistently, you need Viper in your agent pool as a controller main. There are some maps like Breeze that she's just necessary on, and there's many more maps that she's absolutely amazing on. And if you think you can't carry on Viper, you would be incredibly wrong. Viper has some of the best stalling abilities in the entire game. You have AoE, you have smokes, you have the ability to ult and completely deny a push entirely. There's so many different ways in which you can use your utility to fight for you, and that leaves less reliance on your gunplay. And this is not by any means a reason to not grind your aim or get better mechanically, but it does give you stability in your impact from game to game, and you're going to be able to outthink and outplay people on the strategy side of Valorant without needing to out-aim them all the time. Now, the next controller is a controller that has an incredibly high ranked win rate and is super strong in the meta right now, and that's Omen. Omen has always been an amazing character for solo carry play just because of the flexibility in his kit. Not only does he fulfill a vital team job by smoking them in and flashing them in and helping his team get on site and get the plant down or in retakes, but Omen also has a lot more that he can do than other controllers. Not only can you just make some pretty interesting teleport plays in the moment, repositioning, trying to mix up the angles you're playing in, but you could use them in conjunction with your smokes to really leave the enemy guessing. Good Omens understand that if they place a smoke somewhere, the enemy have to be afraid of it and maybe even clear it, and if you combine that with a teleport, all of a sudden they don't know if you went to the left, to the right in the smoke, or you just teleported in place. There's so many different angles that an Omen can be that he becomes a demon, not only just setting up his team, but in post-plant situations and clutch-up situations as well. Combine all this together with the fact that Omen is one of the best lurkers in the game because he can fulfill his job, he can lurk and get a kill and get out safer than most other characters because he can smoke himself off and teleport away. So Omen is that perfect combination of fundamental and disruptive that is just amazing for a solo carry agent, and I do think a lot of people that are grinding Duelists right now should probably be grinding Omen instead. You would probably win a lot more games, take that aggressive temperament and that good aim and apply it to a role that makes you use your brain a little bit more. Then next up, we do got to talk about the Sentinel role, and Sentinels are often overlooked as a role that seems to not be able to carry as hard as others, but you actually are. Sentinels are oftentimes carrying the entire game on their back. Now, granted, they're not going to have the highest kills in the lobby, but they're carrying the game nonetheless, and I think that people try to conflate the two, and it's just not true. Sentinels can shift how the entire game is played, and the first agent that we got to talk about is actually Cypher, because as of the new 7.09 changes, Tripwire is just so much better than it was before. Compared to its old self, it's going to concuss faster, it's going to auto rearm itself, so if you don't kill it, it's going to stun you again, and it's going to slow you for longer. So it's just freaking death. Like, it's literally just death. This greatly increases the power of Tripwire, and especially because as you go lower and lower in rank, the less and less people are consistently clearing out Tripwires with their utility, like shock darts, for instance, and they're walking into them a lot more. You're going to be able to punish people greatly for this. And even in higher ranks and meta play, one of the things about this that's so important is you get heavily rewarded for trapping somebody. So it's worth it to set up multiple trap setups that are trying to really catch the duelist off guard. If it's a Raze or a Jett just trying to get onto point really quickly, if they get caught in this, they have to kill it very, very quickly. And even if they do, they're probably going to get concussed and they're going to get killed, and the entire push is going to get completely stalled out. So Cypher is going to be amazing for ranked play, amazing for shutting down certain types of players, and overall he's already a good solo carry agent, but this change is going to push him way over the top, and he's definitely a character that many of you should start grinding a bit more. Now the next character in the Sentinel role that is a bit underutilized in meta play, but in ranked play is a phenomenal solo carry agent, and it's actually Sage. Sage has one of the highest win rates in ranked play, and this is because of several things. Number one, Sage has amazing stalling capabilities, and just forcing an opponent to either get heavily delayed or rotate off is already going to win you a ton of freaking games. Just doing that alone. Enemies just rushing it and being allowed to take point over and over and over again. This should not be able to happen against the Sage, and you have all the tools to just deny them, which is already going to win you a lot of rounds. And in addition to that, Resurrect is one of the most consistent value ultimates in the game, and it's pretty much never bad as long as you make sure that you're not in a situation where you res and both of y'all instantly freaking die. But overall, Sage is a really great character that brings a ton of value to every single team she's in. I never really think that she's actively bad in ranked play, and while perhaps at the meta level she's a little bit too simple and her abilities aren't quite powerful enough to change a coordinated strategy, for a solo carry ranked strategy she has crazy amounts of carry potential, and some character that you should definitely not overlook just because you don't see pros running it down with her. The next up, we do got to talk about the Duelist role, the role most known for being able to solo carry you, but if you aren't playing these characters properly, then you're gonna feed a lot more than you're gonna carry. So the first agent that we got to talk about is definitely Jett. News of her death has been greatly exaggerated. Jett is still one of, if not the most powerful duelist in the game, and she just pretty much has everything you could possibly need. From her ability to take space aggressively and get your team onto an objective, to being really good in eco with your knives and allowing your team to save and you potentially hero around by killing someone with a rifle, giving it to a teammate, and all of a sudden you just freaking win the game off the back of your pick with your ultimate. And she can abuse operators better than anyone, which is broken because operators are just broken in ranked play. Now, the thing that you need to do on Jett though is you need to make sure that you're adapting your play to best fit your team. There are certain things that you should be doing on Jett as your job, right? The jobs of a Jett player is to dash onto site, help clear utility, help clear space on site, and help get your team onto site. And this is a really important thing to do, but you need to match the pace of your team, making sure not to get too far ahead of them and then dying by yourself. And then also just looking at what your team is doing. Sometimes doing this is a death sentence that has no follow-up. And especially depending on the rank you're in, you need to evaluate how your team are playing and play to best enable your team if it's possible, or best to enable yourself if it's necessary. This doesn't mean see your team feed one time and give up on them completely, but it is important to understand that if you want to truly deadlift on this character, you have to be realistic about your route to victory and not just try to keep being the team player, the team duelist, the one that does everything your teammates want to do, and every single plan y'all try to do never freaking works and you just lose the game slowly. But if you're looking to skyrocket in rank, we definitely recommend checking out our Jett course where we break down top Jett mains like Demon 1, Durka, Tens, and Aspas. So if you really want to climb very quickly, definitely check it out down below. Now the next character that we definitely got to talk about is Raze. And I understand as of 7.09, Raze is getting some gigantic nerfs, and I'm here to tell you that she's still one of the best, if not a top 3 solo carry agent in the game. In a very similar way to how Jett is still very freaking strong in her post-nerf world, everything that Raze fundamentally does well is still left intact. Nade is AoE that can get a ton of chip damage. Raze still has some of the best mobility in the game, meaning she can get onto site or outplay people with movement in 1v1s and 1v2 clutches. But it is important that you understand that she is not going to be able to clear utility as well as she could before. And this is going to be important when you're going up against characters like Cypher and like Killjoy. These characters' utilities are going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. With Nade doing less damage to utility and Blast Pack taking longer to charge, you're not going to be quite as reliable at dealing with those things. So keep in mind that she is going to be weaker in some aspects, but the core strengths of Raze are still going to exist, and she's still a very powerful character that has a lot of skill expression, and she's one of the few duelists alongside with Jett that can take space onto site in the way that is needed to for a duelist to be like a meta tier duelist right now. That's why these two duelists are the only meta duelists in the game that don't see niche play and only niche play. The last role that we definitely got to talk about is the Initiator role. And there are a lot of characters in the Initiator role that are amazing at solo carrying, but the one we got to talk about first is Skye. Skye just kind of does everything. I mean, you have a flash to help you take duels, but also gather information that is on a time interval. You have really, really great utility for helping your team in the heal, which is amazing for pistol rounds, especially where you're taking a ton of damage from like random freaking Raze grenades or whatever the case may be, and you can get everyone up to a pretty high health total and take easier and better fights. And Dog is just a very reliable information gathering tool and punishes enemies that want to hold close. So when you combine all these things together, Skye just kind of has everything that you could possibly need to take over a lobby. And in the right hands, Skye can do it all. You can pop off, get kills, help your team, but in order to get the most value out of Skye, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to where your team is at all times. I understand that you want to take the game into your own hands and pop off and carry, but you need to be using your teammates' pressure value and abilities to your advantage. And if you're dogging up with no one that can capitalize on it, if you're blinding on the site, getting information and flashing, and there's no one there to help you out, your plays are going to be less effective. So even though your goal is to pop off and carry, use your teammates as a catalyst to help your plays be better, and you're going to carry a lot harder. Now, last but certainly not least, in the Initiator role, we do got to talk about Sova. And Sova is another character that is just super freaking strong in the right hands, not only for the meta strategic side of the game, where you're doing these perfect darts and you're really helping your team with lineups and things like that, but also just to deal with many of the problems that you'll come across and use your abilities flexibly. As an example, we just talked about characters like Killjoy and characters like Cypher that could be really annoying to deal with, and Sova has the tools to do so. In addition to that, if you're ever in a 1v1, you have so many different tools at your disposal. You can drone and get information. You can bounce a dart and deal damage, forcing someone to swing out or making your duels easier so you don't have to hit a headshot. You can dart up top with a recon dart, get information, helping you swing wide, walk wide, go around, wrap. I mean, there's just like a million different things that you get to do with this character in the middle of a fight or a clutch. Your ultimate is also one of the best ultimates at not only shutting down other people's ultimates like Killjoy's lockdown, but just denying rushes and getting a ton of kills. I really would suggest you ping lanes before you activate your ultimate, and it's really easy to just completely deny an opponent's play and get a lot of kills in the process. All in all, these are the 8 characters that we definitely recommend starting with in patch 7.1. But definitely let me know if there's any characters that you think we missed in the comments down below. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.